World War II veterans, as we all know, is quickly dwindling. So tonight, we introduce you to one of those heroes whose war service is the stuff of legends, with books and movies, but not nearly enough to tell all the stories. KAKE's Chris Frank travels to Ponca City to introduce us to the leader of the Airborne Squad known as the Filthy 13.
Now, all of our war veterans are special, but how many can you point to whose service stands out that even a foreign government, France, recognizes with their highest honor? Well, let me introduce you to Jake McNiece of my hometown, Ponca City.
I don't consider myself a hero.
Yet the more one learns about the now 93-year-old Jake McNiece, you realize he is one of our veterans which the label hero really applies to.
Veterans Day means a lot to most of us boys that are left, which isn't very many.
That's McNiece on the right, the day before D-Day. The Ponca City native was among 20 paratroopers of the famed 101st Airborne who jumped behind enemy lines on D-Day near Normandy, June 6, 1944. It was a desperate suicide mission to wreak havoc and blow up bridges to keep the Germans from resupplying their troops on the beaches.
And in 3 hours, I was down to 3 men.
Yet he says they got the job done.
We got our 2 bridges blown and placed explosives on the 3rd one.
His squadron became known as the Filthy 13. That's mainly due to the filthy conditions they lived in while training in England, he says.
They were the finest soldiers.
The squadron was known for mohawk haircuts and putting on war paint before battle. McNiece was also known for his off-the-battlefield antics, including overstaying his leaves of absences.
They were troublemakers.
Were you a troublemaker?
I was a troublemaker. I was the head troublemaker.
McNiece laughs now, but he acknowledges he got busted in rank numerous times back to buck private when he should have been climbing in rank.
I kept being busted every time.
Yet this same troublemaker has been decorated with nearly 50 medals for his heroic work behind enemy lines for our government alone. His wife, Martha, can describe almost every medal and ribbon.
He has Bronze Star with 3 oak leaf clusters, 4 oak leaf clusters, I believe it is.
McNiece awarded the Bronze Star 5 times, including the 4 times he jumped behind enemy lines. Martha could be his historian since she knows all the details.
I've been married to him for 59 years, and I've heard it enough times.
Insigne de Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur.
3 other countries, France, Belgium, and Holland, have also given him high honors, the most recent coming in September. In a ceremony in the Oklahoma State Capitol building, McNiece is given the French Legion of Honor Medal.
Well, I'm not a hero, I'm just a survivor. The heroes are still over there pushing up daisies.
McNiece isn't certain why this French honor is coming so many years later, but he's humbled by it. Now, despite his troublemaking antics, McNiece was recognized as a leader and put in charge of training soldiers for top-secret missions. Instead of blowing bridges up, they became known as pathfinders. He and 20 soldiers jumped near Bastogne when the Americans were cut off by Germans and faced certain death without supplies. Now, by using radio beacons, they were able to guide C-47s with supplies to the drop sites despite overcast skies. Hence the name Pathfinders. For decades, the public story was the skies cleared. They hadn't.
It was 23 degrees below zero.
That was December 23rd, 1944. They had orders to blow themselves up with their equipment rather than fall into enemy hands. Their work enabled American soldiers to hold Bastogne until General Patton's army could break through. Many will remember the 1967 movie The Dirty Dozen. It was inspired by the Filthy 13 stories, with Jake McNiece being the inspiration for the character played by Lee Marvin. But McNiece refused to work with the producers as a consultant, believing they wouldn't be true to the story, and they weren't. Now he is working with Hollywood, being visited by scriptwriters for a yet-to-be-named project on the Filthy 13. Now, the average lifetime of a war paratrooper then was 1.5 jumps. Only 2 jumped 4 times and survived their battles. McNiece is the last one remaining.
And I tried to have fun with it all the way.
A veteran with many stories yet to tell. From Ponca City, Chris Frank, KAKE News.